Hey guys, welcome to game number 2 between WhiteRa and LiquidRa. This is a Bo7 ret taking game number 1 in convincing macro fashion, but WhiteRa is the one that challenged ret to a macro game, taking a third base by the 5-minute mark, and it went just as well as WhiteRa could have hoped for. By that, I mean he didn't flat out die doing that. Generally, Daybreak is a map where you cannot take your third base, but he did secure it. He did lose a lot of mining time when Lings ran into his main base, but even though that happened, I would say that is almost best case scenario for that build. I just think generally when I would try that on ladder, I would just flat out die, but WhiteRa making it work. We'll see what Ret can do on Antiga Shipyard. This map is generally one the Zerg player will be aggressive on, because if he lets the Protoss get to 3 base very quick, then the Protoss is going to be the one that can dictate how the game goes, because it's very hard for Zerg to kind of secure a 4th base on this map, just like it is against Terran for them. Protoss can hold this high ground with sentries and colossus and just be a completely obnoxious, and then blink around with blink stalkers and take out any ninja expos. So Ret most likely will be the aggressive one here. We'll see exactly what build he ends up going for. Last game, he did go for a hatch first because WhiteRa did not scout after his pylon, and he is doing that yet again. So we'll see if WhiteRa is just going to be going with a flat-out Nexus first without scouting, and if Ret realizes there's no scout and he's going to just go for a hatch first, and it looks like he is. And this is relatively safe for him. I know it is risky going for hatch first no matter what, but this is the GSL version of Antiga Shipyard where they only have one spawn location. It is always going to be forced cross, I believe. So this one Overlord will see any probe moving on out, and well, if he sees a probe, then he knows, okay, I gotta watch this area down here. Make sure no pylons go up in. Ret even gonna be moving out his second Overlord. So he has no vision of this area, but because he has vision of this area, he knows there's no probes out by his base, unless WhiteRa was using some very sneaky special tactic scout pass. But that is such a small possibility. Ret doesn't seem to be too worried about it. Probe is going to be making his way now to the red space. Ret going to go for a relatively fast gas yet again. That was at 3 minutes. So it doesn't look like he is too keen on that 12-minute Roach max out. And maybe you can do that getting a early gas like this. But generally you do double gases just before 5 minutes hits. I believe that's how I see it done. I haven't seen that in some time. So we'll see what Ret ends up doing. Going to be going for relatively quick speedlings or maybe a lair. The probe does make his way up, just sees there is no third base, and immediately turns around. And a little bit odd from Ret is he never even checked this one hatch. Maybe he just knew that WhiteRa wasn't going to be doing any proxies, knew that the hatch was going to be finished by the time any damage could be done, because he saw the time the probe did leave the base. It was a very late scout, just designed to see if Ret was going to go for a triple hatch. And WhiteRa sitting out another probe. Is he going to do a quick third base? No, he isn't. Just going to be getting his wall up. And notice WhiteRa is one of those players that likes to wall the ramp right here on Antiga Shipyard. Sometimes you see Protoss wall the map right here and do that kind of cute SimCity. That is a little bit more vulnerable to roaches, while this wall is a little bit more vulnerable to Baneling bust and early Speedling run-bys. So the 7 escort does get placed, and that is right on time. Overlord going to be seeing this one Nexus, getting an eye on all the chrono boost, and also seeing that there is no third gas. So that is good to know. Were these gases taken at the same time? Yes, they were. So he knows, okay, both those gases were taken at the same exact time. Ret hasn't gone up on any gases besides that initial one and has stopped mining it, so he just wants to get early Ling speed out. And that may just be so he can deal with any type of proxy pylons, but one is going to be coming up here, and this is going to be a big pain for Ret to deal with. Speedlings are not going to help you all that much in this scenario unless WhiteRa ends up morphing in a lot of stalkers. We do have WhiteRa now working on his +1 attack, and Ret knows, okay, no third gas still. Probe does make himself seen, so that means Ret knows, okay, there's most likely a forward pylon out on the map somewhere. Notice Ret is moving out with a lot of Lings right before the 7-minute mark, just because around 7 minutes is the time the warp gates do finish. So Ret most likely going to be looking all around the map, finding out a forward pylon, because this is the time they do get placed. And it looks like I'm wrong. He is just going to try to put on some aggression, and WhiteRa going to be walling that off with a probe. Ret making sure, okay, you're not doing that 5-minute third base yet again. So WhiteRa has mixed up his strategy, and that is what he's known for. Now Rhett is going to see the forward pylon out, and WhiteRa is going to be building a lot more gates. 5 gates in production right now, 6 gates in production, and that warp gate research just about done. We do have Rhett now going to be trying to take out this forward pylon. It looks like he will be able to take it out. There is still probably around 20 seconds left on that warp gate research, so those Lings are going to take this out. And Rhett just going to keep an eye on this third base timing. WhiteRa going to be placing a pylon down here so we can just whoop in a bunch of units. And because of this wall, I imagine that WhiteRa will be going for a blink as he takes his third base, because it can be really hard to deal with mutas with this wall that WhiteRa has done without blink, because his units are always going to be funneling in this area, so mutas can hop between this space and this space. So I expect to see a Twilight Council come down relatively soon. And Rhett still looking for any forward pylons, using their speedlings to run all around the map. Really wants to find any of those. We do have WhiteRa getting quite a few more pylons up just so he doesn't supply himself when he does that huge 7-gate warp in. I believe that's 7 gates. Yep, 7 gates for WhiteRa. Doing a relatively large warp in. All their sentries going to be moving out. Rhett does see this, and he is answering that with 7 roaches right now. His roach speed not started because the lair hasn't been finished yet. And oh no, the Zealot wasn't on hold position, allowing these Lings to run right on into the base. The cannon killing a few, but those Lings are going to do a vicious run by to this main base's middle line. Probes have been pulled, losing some mining time. Now that Zealot is going to be going down. WhiteRa is down here. The Roach is out, mainly just Zealots. Some good force fields by those sentries, but without Stalkers, those force fields not going to really do all that much but prevent these sentries from dying. The pylon does get canceled. WhiteRa will have to be backing on off. The probes killed was 9, and WhiteRa also lost mining time, so that is not good for him one bit. He is down to 41 probes. He was around 50 before that. Going to be chrono boosting some more probes out. And we'll see if he continues with the 7-gate pressure, or if he decides, okay, well, you've been producing nothing but units for now a few minutes, so not a good idea to attack you anymore. I'm going to take my third base, which in that is what WhiteRa is doing. Is he going to get a Twilight Council up relatively soon? Because if Rhett makes a switch to mutas and WhiteRa doesn't have blink, that is pretty much game over right there, just because the Stalkers will no longer be mobile due to the chokes around WhiteRa's base. And we'll see exactly what ends up happening. WhiteRa does sneak a forward pylon down here. Does Rhett know about that? No, he doesn't. And Rhett looks like he wants to move out. Has a lot of roaches up on the map. He is at 150 supply at 11 minutes. And Rhett going to be working on these destructible rocks. Does not know about the third base. Force field does go down by WhiteRa. Has plenty of energy on those sentries. And some nice force fields. Going to pick off a few roaches. And force fielding himself there, and the Lings try to do a run by, but 2 Zealots do get the morph in. Very nice job by WhiteRa doing that. If the Lings did run by, that would be huge. And more force fields going in to prevent the Lings from absolutely killing those sentries. This one poor Stalker does go down, not inside all those force fields. Those roaches want to be aggressive, but WhiteRa has so many force fields, but he's going to be running out. Only has around 4 more force fields left. Whooping in some Zealots. Those roaches coming in. Not that many Stalkers going into this army supply. Rhett has 80, 90. WhiteRa has 26. The roaches look like they may just be a little bit too much by WhiteRa. There goes the GG. WhiteRa trying that 7-gate, but the pylon does get taken out at the critical timing. And then as he moves out, his Zealot wasn't on a hold position. Lings run into the main base, dealing a lot of damage, killing 8 probes, plus making WhiteRa lose mining time. And yeah, Rhett taking game number 2 in convincing fashion. Will WhiteRa be able to come back? It is not good being down 2-0 in a Bo7 immediately right off the bat. Going into SC2 gears, we'll look at what Rhett's injects look like, and not too much, because I think we kind of know why WhiteRa lost the game. Kind of going in for an all-in-ish build, and Rhett just countered that so hard. And if that Zealot was on a hold position, then I think WhiteRa would have a chance to macro his way out of that situation. But losing the 8 probes after a failed all-in, and also that mining time, was just a little bit too much. And let's see. Rhett at the 10-minute mark does have 8-second inject gap. Not the best. 9.6 finishing the game off, so stayed on his injects throughout that entire 13-minute game. We will be going into game number 3 very shortly, so stay